All right, we're going to move on to the next panel, utility coins disrupting existing markets. If I can have Ben Yu, CEO of Stream, Ameen Soleimani, CEO at Spankchain, Steve McKie, founding partner of Amentum, Xiahong Lin, founder of Bodhi, and moderator Min H. Kim, ex-Civic and VP at B-Token. There you go. Here's this one. Perfect. Just pass this. Oh, yeah.
Hello. Okay. Hi, guys. We're really excited to have this panel today. So to start off, we'll just go around and do a couple of rounds of introductions. If you can tell me a little about your company and one common misperception that people, like investors, have about your company or business model as an icebreaker. That's how we'll kick it off.
Sure, great question. Wow. All right, so I'm Ben. We run Stream. So essentially, we're working to make content creation more profitable for content creators, namely videographers today, right? People who are on YouTube, who are on Facebook, Twitch, Periscope, so forth. And right now, they take 40 to 45% of all the revenue that a content creator makes, and that's before expenses. So in a lot of cases, that can be 100% of all the money that a content creator makes. And so a common misperception that people have is that we are actually competing with these platforms directly, but actually what we're doing is we're building a protocol layer below these platforms such that we can disintermediate the power of these people to create a monopoly that allows them to charge such kind of like large rates of middleman fee, right? So today, for example, the reason that YouTube can charge 45% is because when you're on YouTube, you're stuck on YouTube. You have 10 million subscribers. Your two options are either you give up everything, you lose all that traction that you have, and you go somewhere else. And where would you even go? Because who has the reach, who has the network effect of YouTube? That's actually not the native save the world, right? And if you take an open protocol, like let's say torrenting today, right? If you actually create a new torrent client, you have actually access to every single piece of content that was created before, because torrents by design are an open protocol that are stored on third-party aggregator site where any single client in the world shares the same pool of seeders and leechers, and there's no way for any client to really charge some extortionary fee to keep people locked in on a platform. So that's basically what we're doing, is building a protocol that kind of controls the content and the users on the layer separate from the platform, such that they are no longer able to keep that centralized silo of power. Oh, do you ever have one?
Yeah, so my name is Stephen McKie. My introduction will be a little bit not as verbose. But I have a hybrid crypto hedge fund along with myself and 3 other partners. And we do public crypto market investing and like normal like protocol assets like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Zcash, as well as we do like traditional kind of like venture style ICO investing and pre-launch ICO tokens, basically to kind of build value up and down the stack and their networks, and basically be advocates for these projects that we invest in. And I also have a fairly popular podcast for cryptocurrency called Block Channel, where we do provide educational resources and interviews with entrepreneurs and developers in the space, so we can more easily disseminate and distill all of the esoteric locked up knowledge that we've been compiling for the last 8 or 9 years, and to provide it in a more digestible platform.
Hi, my name is Ameen Soleimani. I'm the CEO of Spankchain. It's an economic infrastructure for the adult entertainment industry. It's exactly what you think it is. It's porn on the blockchain. So we're building a core set of open source tools and smart contracts, a service layer for ad networks, payment channel hubs, video streaming infrastructure, and then a number of user-facing applications on top. One of the common misconceptions that VCs or investors might have looking at Spankchain is thinking that our token is transactional in a two-sided network, which it is not, because all of those models are doomed to fail.
Hi everyone, my name is Xiahong Lin. I started to get involved in this area since 2011, starting by Bitcoin and later on Ethereum. And right now we are building Bodhi on top of Quantum. So Bodhi is another next generation of decentralized prediction markets. We are building Bodhi for two reasons. First of all, I think the conventional prediction markets are very expensive. Think about insurance, where you predict the bad thing gonna happen on you, right? Or sport betting, where you bet on the results of some sport, like the team's performance. Or there's future trading, for example. So all those prediction markets, conventional one, are so expensive. That's why a lot of people feel this it's very highly speculative area. Second reason, it's and that's why where it comes out like Algo and Gnosis, where they're building this decentralized prediction market on top of Ethereum. However, I do see they have problem about their Oracle system, where when the Oracle itself is broken, then the wrong results gonna be basically will break the system. And Bodhi, we have totally different Oracle mechanism so that the Oracle itself can be replaceable. And we are building this so that both solve the problem of the conventional prediction market as well as the existing decentralized prediction market.
Great, awesome. So I think this talk is really about utility coins. So I definitely want to pose a hypothetical scenario, right? So pretend besides our crypto fund here, pretend the SEC tomorrow, right, shows up at your doorstep, knocks on your door, and tells you, hey, we think it's actually a security, right? How would you respond in a 1 minute, very succinct way to prove that your token is not a security? And we'll start from there. Mm-hmm.
I will go back to my room and show them the legal term that our lawyer gave us. Yeah, that's why we work closely with lawyers to make sure our token is actually a utility token instead of security, for one. Second, we actually very carefully review what does security means, and so that our token has no other usage except for people will, using this token internally in our system, and they will get some return based on whether they are doing, or they are based on their contribution. So by this, they don't, they don't own some shares or gain some dividends. So basically, we carefully defined our scope of usage of our token to make sure it's actually utility.
So if the SEC showed up on our doorstep saying, hey, we think you're a security, I'd say, hey, it's nice to see you again. It's been a while since we saw you at Berkeley and we asked for your guidance. It would have been nice if you'd sent an email instead of showing up. But I think we'd probably try and argue with them, maybe in courts, ideally not. But I think that there's at least some ground that utility tokens stand on that doesn't necessarily fit into the Howey test, and the SEC right now is trying to fit all of the utility tokens into the Howey test. But one of the big things about the Howey test is that it makes it so that if you have a pre-functional token, then it's considered a security if you're selling it in advance. Now, one of the interesting things about networks that set them apart from golf courses, for example, is that a lot of the value creation happens before the token might actually be functional, because people can buy in and then start contributing in terms of PR or leads to developers or evangelism about your network and stuff like that. And so I think that we would have a very reasonable conversation.
Sure, yeah, you're just jumping into hard questions right away, right? So, yeah, if the SEC show up at the doorstep, of course, the first thing is, of course, show them the legal written opinion from lawyers. They're always very helpful to actually share why this thing is utility. But actually, there's a pretty simple precedent for us in our case, because people are already using virtual currencies, just like ours, on live streaming. So live streaming is a $5 billion transactional economy where people literally convert their US dollars or Chinese yuan straight into currencies like the Twitch bit and Periscope part, and those are clearly not securities, right? They're clearly used for this purpose of actually paying for goods and services on the platform like a currency. And that's exactly what the Stream token is used for too, right? You use it in conjunction or replacement of like the Twitch bit or Periscope part for exactly the same purposes. So, we think it's pretty clear on a, white basis just to see that.
Great, awesome. So our panel is not only utility tokens, it's also called disrupting existing markets, right? So I'd love to hear from, for example, Ameen. Do you think your total addressable market is all the people who watch porn, or is it, is it something a little smaller than that? Is it the guys who watch porn and have some sort of altcoin, like or Bitcoin? How do you size your market? And would also love to get Steven's view on, how should we determine what the total addressable market is when, mainstream America is not necessarily familiar with how to even obtain, like Ethereum or Bitcoin or whatever.
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, the total addressable market is everybody who watches porn and knows what crypto is at first. So that might be like 1% of people at first, and so we'd try and get 1% of that market. And then our view is that the consumer adoption of cryptocurrency is inevitable. It's just a matter of time. So as that 1% grows and becomes 10%, 50%, 100%, we would try and be positioned well enough to capture the growth.
Yeah, and then, like the general theory behind tokenization is usually to like remove some sort of like inefficiency that was pre-existent in some form of platform. So when you launch a token and you attempt to tokenize, essentially what you're trying to do is to remove some sort of inefficiency, and from that inefficiency you create a double-sided series of incentives that would then bring people in to adopt your platform, but to also potentially speculate on its future value depending on the type of token that it is. Now when it comes to something like Spankchain, which, like, full disclosure, I'm also an advisor there, it comes down to the right time for the right platform. And traditionally when you look at the adult film industry, they're usually some kind of the first purveyors of like new major technology on how they can improve their ecosystem and like monetize in some new manner. So I think it's a matter of like user interaction, the actual user experience itself aligning with the community and the level of scalability that we have currently. So like something like Spankchain and what it utilizes, like state channels, micropayments, things of that nature, which are very like provocative, very like new for a cryptocurrency, and we're trying to like explore like their actual like viability to remove those inefficiencies. So basically, it's a matter of like looking at the market as a whole, like seeing like what things have worked historically in the past to bring individuals on board, and then in what manner technologically can we remove those inefficiencies the best. And when I like look to advise Spankchain, for instance, I was looking at it not necessarily from the kind of like stigma that comes with the film industry. Like I saw that risk, but the real thing that captured me was the infrastructure and the fact that Ameen and his team were actually like trying to make something work with this technology that was actually like innovative. And from a technological standpoint, like that excites me. And if it works for Spankchain's platform, then I would imagine it would work for others.
Yeah, so for Bodhi, so we are building this because we realize conventional prediction market has so many problems about security, about the performance, as well as like the cost, like tax plus maintenance fee are so high. Actually, when you think back about what blockchain provides, blockchain is not like, it's so powerful that it can disrupt anything. Blockchain provide a very cheap but trustable platform so that we don't require or depend on those very expensive agents anymore. Think about insurance. Why we need those insurance companies? Just because they provide a middleman so that we can trust those like trading markets, future trading markets. You have to go through a long KYC process to be able to participate on that. And in return, you actually got a very expensive platform to participate. So that's why we think blockchain in this area is so useful to keep it thin, keep it cheap, so that there's almost no cost to make it fully functional on blockchain. However, in the other way, like blockchain right now at this status, I don't want to talk about the future, but at this status, blockchain is very like like functional limits. The block time is very long. It cannot host large data. So in terms of like high scalability or high performance computation, you won't be able to do that, or you are not able to host large scale data or doing big data computation on top of blockchain. So again, it actually limits those use case what kind of platform you are able to build on top of the blockchain. So even though you find some area where those agents or those middlemen are so expensive, maybe it could be not a good idea to build on top of blockchain. But for both prediction markets, after evaluate tons of projects for the past 3 and 4 years, I think prediction markets is one of the most promising platform that's doable and feasible to be built 100% on top of blockchain. Yep.
Yeah, those are great questions and great answers. So basically, I think Ameen, has a great point where it's, at first most likely going to be the intersection of people who are in the specific industry that you're tackling. In our case, for example, video streaming, content distribution, and people who are into blockchain, right, already into crypto. But actually, the other side of that is the question of how do people get into crypto in the first place? And I think there is a really strong case to create a product. I think earn.com, for example, is doing exactly this, right? What is that first consumer killer blockchain application, or what are few kinds of consumer killer blockchain applications that you can get that can actually introduce people to crypto such that they come into your system even without having to know about it on its own. And I think for example, what we're doing at Stream is a good example of what that could be, because people already are familiar with the user paradigm of converting normal fiat currencies into virtual currencies. And so it's a simple proposition to be able to tell them, hey, instead, why don't you use our virtual currency, which is just like the one you've been using, but better for A, B, and C, and D, right? It's infinitely liquid across a global market, so you can use it on any single platform, not just one platform. Every time you use it, there's not like a 40% tax on your currency, right? It's a much better currency, and it does a lot of things much better than basically a centralized currency can do, such that it's easy for people who even aren't engaged with crypto to begin to start adopting it because they see the clearer value proposition on a consumer level.
Yeah, one of our theses at Spankchain is that the group of people that is most motivated to adopt a new economic system is the group of people that is ostracized by the existing one. And there's sort of systemic discrimination against performers and businesses in the adult space at the hands of the banks and the payment processors. Like JP Morgan closes down accounts of porn stars in 2014 without warning. PayPal and Square will seize their funds and shut down their accounts. Visa and MasterCard will refuse to process their payments. And so you end up with intermediaries that like CC Bill charges like 10 or 15% just to process credit card payments online. So, but for this sort of industry, the real sell is put your money on the blockchain. It's sort of what Eric was saying just now. It's this unseizable store of value. And so then where Spankchain comes in is simply providing the tools to build their economy on top of the Ethereum blockchain and processing their payments at scale.
Great, awesome. So, during a previous panel, they brought up the fact that in 2013, Bitcoin was really hot, and then there was sort of a winter, right? And now it does seem like, Bitcoin is back in and altcoins are back in. And to me, when I see it, it almost seems like, people who have purchasing power, like the millennials, are coming of age at a certain time, and they're also kind of enabling this big push. So, would love to hear around your marketing strategy when you're doing user personas, for example. Like, obviously these people are interested in porn, for example, interested in video streaming, interested in altcoins, but how old are they, right? Like, what TV shows do they watch? Who is your ideal customer?
That's a great question. And thankfully for us, it's a very similar demographic, right? Who are the people, you're right, who are into this technology? It's people who are young, and that's true of almost any kind of new technology that comes out, right? It's the early adopters who are young, who are new, who are ready to do something. So we saw that with the internet, right? It's young people. And that's the beautiful thing, is like in our industry too, right? It's a similar demographic. Who are the people who are live streaming, who are watching videos, right? They're young people. And so it's a really, it's a good mix of, 18 to 34-year-olds who are predominantly male right now, but hopefully, that changes in the future. And it's a good mix for us.
Yeah, I can echo like those sentiments there. Like, I guess as far as like crypto, like if we look at it as like a bell curve, right? The majority of the individuals that sort of fall in the middle of that curve are individuals between 18 and 34. And I previously spent about 2 years at Purse.io, which is an e-commerce platform for shopping on Amazon and for selling goods, kind of like Etsy, that facilitates like Bitcoin escrows in order to like manage these systems. And you know, I spent a lot of time like working as the head of like growth and product content. So I looked at a lot of our data, a lot of our like analytics, and it was very obvious that the 18 to 34 is the bulk. 25 to 34 are the real individuals that are in the space, and I think that makes up the bulk of what I like to call like crypto natives. And then you have like individuals in the age range of like 34 to 45, and then there's that kind of like the long tail. Everyone else is just kind of off like beyond that category. And you know, it's interesting because when you're going to build a persona for crypto, I mean, obviously you want to be relevant. Obviously you want to be able to educate individuals on what your product is. But a lot of the times you really are just marketing specifically for that segment, 18 to 34. And a lot of that is like very like technical forwarding. That's why you see so many different types of memes and things like that that make the space so popular, is because a lot of us are just like, you know, millennial kids. We grew up with SpongeBob. You know, we grew up watching cartoons. And we're here now, and like we are, I guess, kind of like the wealth owners in crypto, because a lot of us kind of came in, we saw the big picture, and like myself, like I've been here for about 5 years, since I was 21, so I kind of grew up with crypto. And so I've kind of watched the marketing change over the past few years, and it went from very hardcore cypherpunk, libertarian, like slightly older 34-year-old folks that already had a little bit of wealth, 34 or greater, excuse me, and like they were interested in the space, and they were kind of the first adopters. And then shortly, a few years afterwards, after they got most of the kinks worked out, folks like me showed up. And so we've kind of just been here building the narrative in the community, and we're such a large part of the community that you know, usually we're the segment that you want to speak to most, because we're going to continue to be the large wealth owners in crypto for at least the next 10, 15, 20 years.
Yeah, as far as Spankchain is concerned, the demographic overlap couldn't be better.
So for us, I believe our earliest user base gonna come from the existing crypto community, because for one, we required user to use crypto token to participate in this prediction market. I don't believe in the short term like those community like users from every area are able to learn how to use crypto token and use our product. So the very earliest user gonna come from the crypto area. However, after our platform are being tested and we have good enough library to so that it's very easy to integrate, we're gonna find all those existed conventional prediction market and persuade them to build their product on top of Bodhi, so that they are blockchain powered, meaning their funds are managed by us, and you know, like the whole logic are backed by blockchain. So it's almost impossible to be hacked by hackers. And you know, in the long-term wise, we do want to make it consumer-facing, but given the current status, we only focus on make it as user-friendly as possible for crypto community. Yep.
Great. So we only have 2 minutes. I'll ask one last question, and then we'll open it up to the audience. So me and my co-founder, John Chow, at the B Token, we have a lot of our business meetings in Ubers, and I drop him off, and then I go to my own place. And all the Uber drivers, after we drop John off, ask me, you know, what is this B Token? Is it like Bitcoin? They want to download the app. So what company or app do you think is the fastest in terms of an Uber driver who has no experience with altcoins going from, you know, 0 to 100? Like which company out there do you think is the market leader, where, you know, for 3 minutes they're driving me home now and they're able to download it, you know, steering wheels on the other hand, but you know, my Ether wallet, everything, and then they just are able to use it in a utility token fashion.
Yeah, the sell is like, wait, I can buy this and use this to pay for porn for the rest of my life? What?
Yeah, I'll shout out 3 main projects. I mean, you guys just heard from one, right? Earn.com. I think that's a fantastic example. Super easy pitch, right? It's like get paid to answer your emails, right? That's super simple. You just go there, and they've abstracted away all the difficulty about how to use it, right? Another good one's Steam, right? So Steam is kind of like Reddit, but every time you get an upvote, you get paid, right? Super simple value proposition. And Stream, we think we're the same thing, right? You know, get paid for making good content without any cost to your users, and as a user, get paid when you engage with content. So. Yeah, I think all those cases where people already are in these industries, right? They're already on Reddit, they're already answering emails, they're already watching videos. It's easy to just focus on the value proposition without even having to explain what the blockchain is, right? And then they get to know that more over time as they really engage with it.
My example would be Cent.co. So for another full disclosure, I'm an advisor on that project as well, along with myself and Jack Harwick, the CEO and founder of WikiHow and eHow. And essentially, it's like a Quora-like platform for the Ethereum community. So you can essentially like ask questions, get feedback, make requests on this network, and in return, you essentially like post up an Ethereum bounty. And it all works in the browser, and it's actually open today. I think we have somewhere between like 1,500 and 2,000 users in the current mainnet beta. But essentially, it's very straightforward. You go in, you supply us with an Ethereum address, so whether that's from like MetaMask, Coinbase, what have you, and then you just start being a part of the community. You start answering questions. You start like giving sound responses and like kind of inject your value into the community. And from that, depending on your position and how you do in like each of the individual posts and bounties, you'll get a certain portion or reward in Ethereum instantly to your wallet. And each of these questions have a 24-hour time frame. So it's a very easy, simple way to onboard into crypto, learn also about all the things the individuals are talking about. So whether that's like investing, the latest BIP or the latest IP, or like the latest conversation or video or Medium posts about crypto. It's a great place for that, and it's very like from a UI UX standpoint, very low barrier to entry and doesn't really require much to have that aha moment. Like I see the efficiency here and I see what it helps.
Yeah, I may tell him some like a very upset answer. For me, even though, for example, our topic is called utility coins, but that's not really a coin or even a money. Honestly, utility coins is just a definition. A lot of tokens you buy or sell, it's actually not money. Don't think about it as money. So that's, I think it's a misconception. In terms of like, so which one gonna be really used by users? I don't think a lot of them gonna be really used by user because there's a very high learning curve. I believe most of utility coins in the future gonna be run underneath, under the protocol or platform, and user have no like feeling, they are actually owning that. Even though perception only, they think they have that, but they don't have to deal with the private key, they don't have to deal with the wallet. They just see some number, just how you see the credit card, like, I'm so rich, I have so much money, but actually you never touch the balance of the credit card yourself, right? That's how the real money works. Utility coins, the same. In the long-term future, I don't believe user will have to manually and individually manage those coins themselves. And if say like, really, no, I'm not satisfied, tell me which one are really gonna be used, I would say Ethereum, Ether gonna maybe the one because CryptoKitty is so popular right now and it actually make it so widely spread it and a lot of people are, wow, this is a game I now finally understand, fuck out those crypto stuff. I understand CryptoKitty now. And they start to buy Ethereum, they try to purchase some kitty. That's a very big, I think it's a big milestone. Starting from that, people will try to adopt Ether. And later on, I believe if the market goes the right way, probably there will be more utility token or coins are being used, but that's I think a separate topic. Yeah.
Great. So I think, we have to wrap it up. We don't have time for questions, but I'm sure the panelists would be happy to answer any of your questions near the 2 exits here. So thank you for having us.